0 to 60 can define a performance car, but it's the fastest 60 to 0 that's the aim of Tarok's brakes. From road cars to race cars, circuits, special stages, or the autostrada, nothing reduces speed like Tarok's brakes. Italy gave the world the art of Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Tarok's has given drivers the art of stopping. For more information and to acquire your own masterpiece, visit tarox.co.uk. Yes, it's me, Mike Stone, and this is the Backseat Driver Podcast. It's the fastest, it's the friendliest, and it's for all the family. The Gas Shocks 116 Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup are the fastest growing race series in the UK, taking in 6 one-hour races and 8 sprints at all the top circuits. Visit 116trophy.com to find out more and get yourself behind the wheel. I'd like to introduce to the Backseat Driver radio show the man that I describe as the happiest rally driver I know. No matter what might be happening on the stage, to his car or anything else, the one, the only Mr. Neil Brighton always has a smile on his face and he's always laughing, which is something of a surprise given some of the rally drivers I've dealt with over the many years. Neil Brighton, welcome to the Backseat Driver radio show.
Thank you for having me on the show, Mark.
Now, how did rallying start for you? Is it a family tradition, or was it something that is it a route or a stage you took on your own?
It's a route that I've taken by myself, obviously with friends pointing me in that direction. It's nothing to do with my family. We never came from a motorsport family at all. I mean, I grew up and I loved motorbikes, and I actually did motocross for a couple of years myself. And again, but cars came along later. Because of some friends, but I didn't intend to do rallying. It just seemed the progression just seemed to go in that direction with terms of what people around me were doing, and I got involved and found that I quite liked it.
So, I mean, where did you start? How old were you, and how did you start out? Because a lot of rally drivers start out as co-drivers.
No, I did. I went and did some co-driving for a friend of mine called Lyle Armstrong. We went out to Catalonia to do. We were at that time doing lots of the demonstration rallies.
Yeah.
I knew, it was all new to me. So what the difference between a demonstration rally and a main rally didn't seem to make much difference. I mean, you were in a car travelling down a stage at high speed. Yeah. And Lyle had a Metro 6R4. And we went out to Catalonia, and I co-drove for him there on it was a round of the WRC where we were doing the historic section.
Yeah.
That was in 98, 99. And I thoroughly enjoyed, being there, even if I was scared out of my wits.
I was going to say you didn't start in one of the more, shall we say, co-driver friendly cars, did you? I mean, I've been a passenger in one, and they are one of the most extreme cars I've ever been in.
Yeah, definitely. It was a real shock to the system when I'd agreed to go with him in the car. We set out from the Olympic Hotel in Lorette de Mar on the morning to go up to a place called Manilu, which was the first service. It was about 50 miles away, and we came out of the Olympic Hotel with around us all these different Group B and historic cars that were doing the historic section, and everybody was eager to go, and he blasted up the road, and for the first time I was afraid in a car. I thought, oh God, what have I let myself in for?
I've only done 4 miles and there's 300 of them in front of me.
Yeah, and it just was accelerated so hard, and you were pushed into the seat, and the noise behind you with the engine barking away, and it was the first time in my life that I was ever car sick.
Yeah.
And I was car sick. We pulled over. I did what I needed to do at the roadside. We got back in, and I was fine after that.
But somewhere along the lines, you persevered. So, I mean, how long did you co-drive for?
Well, I did a few events, but obviously, being young and male, I just wanted to drive myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be sat in the seat. I wanted to drive a car, and it didn't take long.
Yeah, the co-driver doesn't get the glamour out of the job, does it?
No. I mean, one awkward story you talk about glamour was when we'd actually gone to do this rally in Catalonia, and we'd done the shakedown, and we'd done one of the stages, and the car broke an oil pump belt on the road section. And we pulled up next to a set of Ford mechanics who were waiting to service one of the cars in the WRC. They couldn't help us, but Lyle called for service, and him and a friend went back down to 50 miles back down to the Olympic Hotel to get the trailer to come and rescue the car.
Yeah.
And of course, there wasn't any room in the car, so I had to stay with the Metro at the roadside, and which it took them nigh on 2.5 hours to go and come back.
Yeah.
So there's no toilet facilities, there's nothing to eat. And then the Ford mechanics packed up and left because the rally had moved on. And I was stood there with people turning up, taking pictures of this fella's car. And then they did turn up with the van and trailer, but with a load of friends, and there was no room for me in the car, so I had to sit in the Metro on the trailer on the way back. So there was definitely no glamour for the co-driver at that time. So yeah, it wasn't the best experience in my life, but that's how it went.
So when you transitioned from the co-driver's seat to the driver's seat, what did you start with? Were you driving your own car, or was somebody else allowing you to drive?
I was driving my own cars. You've seen the Renault 5 Turbo that I've got now. I had one before that.
Yeah.
And I started using that. I built that car up, and this is all Lyle's fault because he had a Renault 5 Turbo before, and he got me hooked on them. And so I started with that and went out and started doing track days, trying to learn how to drive. I remember going to a track day at Castle Combe and going into the driver's briefing, and they said to us, well, here's the main straight, and there's a slight dogleg kink to the right, a slight kick, slight bend. It's nothing much before you get down to Quarry and what have you. And he said, you go through here flat, and if you're not comfortable, keep over to the right and let people stay on the line. And I remember coming down there and totally losing the plot and not thinking, oh no, it's going to crash. And, meanwhile, the rest of the field passed you by.
Yeah.
Full chat, and because it was beyond my limit of experience at the time.
Yeah.
I'd never been quite that fast down the straight, or with a bend, or what appeared to be a bend, and but by the end of the afternoon, the car couldn't go fast enough for me.
Yeah.
And that's how quickly you sort of took it on. I need this to go quicker through that corner, where earlier you were like hitting the brakes really hard, trying to slow yourself down. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I started with that track day stuff, and then I joined some car clubs, and they did a number of events in different circuits that you went to, and then it progressed from there to going abroad. And we started doing more of the because I primarily only ever really been into the demonstration scene.
Yeah.
Because of money permitting, and we were then going off to Germany to do the Eiffel Rally. We were going over to Ireland to do the Rally of the Lakes, and some of these, when you get there, I mean, they're very different events. The Eiffel is very, very much, when we started doing it, it was a part of the German National Championship, and we just tagged on the end of it.
Yeah.
And I know that the event has changed now, and it's very much just about the historic cars. But it was the German stuff had a feel. The roads were smooth. They were lovely. You could go, and it was like a load of reasonably well-heeled playboys just having fun in cars.
Yeah.
But when you went and did Ireland, like Rally of the Lakes, you were really in it at the deep end.
Yeah.
Because the roads were three-ply in places. They were rough and tough. The Irish took no prisoners. They were lovely people. Don't get me wrong. They absolutely loved their rallying and accommodated you wherever they could. But the stages, I mean, I just remember doing the Moles Gap stage, going up, and the road was rough. There were waterfalls. There were concrete. It was rock side. There was falls off the side, and you're going up as fast as you thought you could, and then you go up at the top and go left and over through the arch and down, and it was like you really better know what you're doing, because you could lose your life here. And I mean, seriously, it was really hard going, but I did enjoy the Irish stuff more than I did the German stuff, because it really challenged you and it really took its toll on the cars. And I can remember coming back down to the Lake Hotel where we were all staying, the whole of all the historic guys, and some of the cars, a car turned up. It was an RS200 that had been rolled on one of the stages, and it was smashed to pieces, and they dragged it in on this trailer and put a cover over it, and it's never re-emerged, that car. I know it's been rebuilt, but it's never resurfaced.
Yeah.
In the rally world, in the demonstration world, and there were other cars, Mantas and stuff with broken steering, and it was a real sort of catalogue of cars that had been through the wars on the stage. And you really realised you're in at the deep end here in Ireland. They're not here to have a bit of fun. They're here to go rallying.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that bit.
Well, I've always said when you're out in Ireland, because you've been talking about some roads that I know, or I used to know quite well, it was always the rule of thumb: if there was a road sign that said slow, dangerous corner, that was the indication to the Irish to change down a gear and hit the throttle even harder.
that may well have been true. And we had a driver's briefing on one of the years, I think it was in 2004, where the fella came in and said that there's a couple of stages which they were not going to take us to, and we needed to make amendments to our road books, because a number of because we did a certain group of stages on day one and another group on day two, but the main rally were doing all of them both days.
Yeah.
And they came in for the driver's briefing on the morning of the second day, and they said, we're going to amend your road books, because we don't want you all going to such and such a stage, because we've had a good few cars go off there, and we don't want to take any of you people down that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we should have breathed a sigh of relief or not, but again, seeing some of the cars coming back in where they lost it on the road, you just thought, well, maybe they knew what they were doing. They didn't want the rally being held up by a couple of us falling off the road, just not able to deal with the conditions. But yeah, it's always been the Irish rallies. They always stick in my mind as if you think when I did Catalonia, I went off to do the recce.
Yeah.
And I borrowed a Mitsubishi Shogun that one of the guys had, and I'd driven up and I was doing the recce and writing the notes, and we're going up this hill on this mountainside, and the road was so narrow that I was hoping, please don't let anyone be coming down while I'm going up, because there's nowhere to go. And someone did come down, and of course I'm driving this right-hand drive car, and there were drops off the side of the hillside that were so horrible that if you would have fallen off there, your clothes would have gone out of fashion before you hit the bottom. Yeah. It was so far down, and and I remember going back down into Lorette and saying to Lyle, do you know what? Day two, because he had a couple of friends who'd come down from Manchester. Yeah. And one of them, wanted to get in the car, and he said, "Well, no, Neil's paid the money. He's got to go in the car." But I remember going back and saying, "If you want to put Roy in the car,
feel free."
Feel free. And then I also, I was like, "Look, this is a serious thing where we're going tomorrow. The roads are really treacherous. And please don't be going out on the lash. Yeah. And get, because we've got to get up early in the morning, and I don't, so he and a couple of the guys wanted to go out that evening, and I said, well, I'm going to go and I'm staying in, not being a killjoy, but I'm staying in. I don't want to be tired in the morning because I know what you people get like.
Yeah.
And so he said, no. Well, I'm going to stay in. I'm going to stay in. He says. So he went to bed. I went into my room, and I woke up in the morning, and we got up to go, and he was hanging. He was really hanging.
Yeah,
I was. And of course, this was the morning when the oil pump belt failed.
Yeah.
All right, on the way up. But the thing was, I didn't find out until 10 years later. Right? 10 years later, he admitted to me when I went to bed. He waited till I was asleep, and then they all nipped out.
Yeah.
And the other lads, Roy and Ali, and everyone turned up, and they all went out. And he said, when you knocked on my door in the morning, I'd only been in bed for 10 minutes. So I said, well, that's why you wouldn't speak in the car on the way up. But, you do. It was 10 years it took me to find that out. But by then we could just laugh about it. But then in the other way, I count my lucky stars that we didn't go up on some of those stages because we would have been drunk as a skunk. and that was the only place that I was afraid of when you compared it to sort of the stuff in Ireland. Some of the stuff really would challenge you.
Yeah. So after Ireland, how did your career progress?
Well, we did a lot of that stuff for a few years, the backwards and forwards to the demonstration stuff. Then there was a desire, or things were starting to grow in the UK. Some of the clubs were coming out because we started off with a club called Slowly Sideways.
Yep.
Then it became Rallying with Group B, and various fellas just coming to bring some flowers. Hold on 1 second, he's going to knock the door.
Right. If you wonder what's going on, folks, it's Neil's wife's birthday today, so there's various things going on in the background.
You just grab these and bring them in. She said they were going to be coming,
So whilst we're on, we shall wish Neil's wife what will now be a belated happy birthday.
Right, I'm back.
Right. So where did you progress? Like you said, you were with Slowly Sideways, who hosted an enormous number of events throughout Europe. And the one thing that I always notice, because you said you'd done the Eiffel Rally, it was an event that I competed in on a few occasions in the historic section, and it did get to the stage after the national championship cars had gone through that the historics followed on behind. The historics were generating more interest with the general public than the full-blown rally was.
Definitely so. Literally, we would turn up in the car park in the centre of the town, and we'd all be moved off originally. We'd moved off to the side roads while the main rally took centre stage.
Yeah.
That then, when the historic started to grow in number, that then transitioned, and then it became the case that the two couldn't live together, the national and the historic. They couldn't live together.
No.
And I did an interview with Reinhard Klein some years ago for my Facebook group, Group B Today, and we talked about this, and he said they parted company in mutual terms, and the Eiffel, then the rally using the historic, really grew and exploded with the amount of people wanting to come along with various historic cars. So it's an event in itself, and it's probably the forerunner to lots of the things we now see across Europe. Rally Legends, Rally Costa Brava, lots of these things have just taken their direction from the Eiffel.
And as I said, it's fascinating because it has grown and grown and grown. But the one thing about your good self is, like, you have a passion for Renault 5s. The one that you're best known for is your Renault 5 Maxi Turbo, which is in full DIAC livery, etc., and it attracts an enormous amount of attention. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it's been built to replicate one of Jean Ragnotti's cars.
Not Ragnotti, a guy called Francois Chatriot.
Right.
Yeah, he drove. It was a semi-works in the DIAC colours, a work-sponsored car, and Chatriot sort of ran in direct sponsorship for a few years in the Group 4 cars, the Group B cars, and then later on he even drove with ProDrive alongside Colin McRae. So it was that was where the car, or my mind was with the car, was that I wanted to replicate his Diac car. It wasn't actually Ragnotti, although it's the same type of car. But it's been something that I'd already previously replicated his Group 4 car.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that particular, because a lot of people think of Renault 5 and they think of the Philips Maxi 5 Turbo, blue and red one, Ragnotti one, and they're all. And then I actually thought down that road as well before putting the paint scheme on the car, and then I looked carefully at the Diet ones, and I just thought this one just knocks the spots off, and it's distinctive because too many people will want to do the blue and red.
Yeah.
And I want something that's distinct on its own, and the Diet one really appealed to me. So I went with that colour scheme.
Now, when you build a car like that, can you get access to, shall we say, the works cars? I mean, are you able to replicate them perfectly?
Well, the thing was, at the time, we're going back to 97, 98 when I started the build, we didn't really have a lot going on internet-wise and data-wise. I was part of the Group B car club at that time, and we had a registrar there, a guy called Alan Eisner. And Alan knew a lot about Renault 5s. He was in contact with John Price, the late John Price, God rest him. There was some information that you could glean about these, and then you were looking at videos, and I mean VHS. You were looking at pictures in books. There was a guy called Peter Meany who published a book on the Renault 5, and you were taking pictures. And then I was given a microfiche book, which had lots of information in it. I was given PDFs, we call it a PDF now, with measurements and all sorts of stuff in it, which made it sort of possible to go forward with the build. Yeah. And the option that I had, which a lot of people didn't have at the time, was a lot of people would look at, I've got a Renault 5 Turbo 2, a mid-engine road-going car. Yeah. It's valued at X. Yeah. Do I now cut it up and turn it into something it's not, and thereby lose the value? So people didn't want to go down that road, and if they did, they didn't replicate it properly. Yeah. And so they were always coming in for criticism, and I had the option of actually saying, do you know what, I'm going to do a ground zero build here. I'm going to go and start with an 1100cc body shell. Yeah. Right, which is what they did with the Maxi. They didn't start with the Turbo 2, they went back to the beginning. And the reason for that was because lots of the suspension pickup points needed to be removed and replaced. Yeah. Into different, the geometry was different, the length of the car was different. The width of the car was different. There was all these different things which, if you had a Turbo 2, you'd have just said, leave that, that'll be all right, leave that, no one's going to know. Yeah. Whereas I wanted to do it properly. So being the glutton for punishment that I was at the time, foolish, I set off to build this car. And believe me, there were many days when I just wanted to tip the petrol can over in the garage, walk away and throw a match in. Because it was so taxing at times, trying to get things right. If I'm honest, the car developed into what I wanted over a period of time. Yeah. As things became available, as I got more information, as the internet came up, and you could actually find out that bit which you thought looked like this was actually more like that. Yeah. So we're going to strip this all off and we're going to redo it. So now I have a car which I would say, as far as replication is concerned, is somewhere to the order of 97% accurate. Yeah. Right.
Because, I mean, looking at it, and I follow you on Facebook, it looks like the bugger's bit, because you're now doing a replica Peugeot, aren't you?
Yeah, the 206 Again, another thing that I used to love when my son was little, and me and my wife, we chose to share the care for Jonathan when he was young. So I was self-employed at the time, so I could take a couple of days out a week and stay home and look after him, and she would do the same with her work.
Yeah.
And of course, you're bored now, so I'd be sitting at home watching rally videos, watching the rally while he's playing with his toys. And I fell in love with the 206 WRC with Grunholm behind the wheel, and Burns eventually, Panizzi and Delacour, everybody, I just loved the car.
Yeah.
But it was never something that I thought I would have, and I actually wanted at some point to build a McRae Focus replica, but then I thought, you know what, it's too easy to do. I actually researched it, but it was too easy to do, and I thought, why don't you do the one that you really wanted that you thought you couldn't? Do the 206.
Yeah.
Because no one's done this. And when I say no one's done this, people have put body kits on cars, but I didn't. Same as with the Renault, I really didn't want a body kit look-alike.
Yeah.
That was a pointless exercise to me. I needed a proper, full-on 2-litre turbocharged 4-wheel drive, semi-active 206 WRC.
Yeah.
And so that's what I set out to do. And by now, unlike with the Renault, there was a lot of information about the car's dimensions. There were images. There was parts that you could buy off the shelf,
right,
to make this happen. And it's been 2 years. In March will be 2 years, and I'm at the point where in the next couple of weeks the engine should start for the first time.
Right. So, I mean, just out of interest, where do you get the engine from?
Well, what you do is I looked at what was the engine that they were using in the car originally. What did Peugeot use in there? And it was obviously a derivative of what started off in the 205 Turbo 16, which was then brought up to date and detuned. Because, of course, it didn't need 600 horsepower. An aluminium block, which they'd renamed as an EW10.
Yeah.
For modern purposes going into the road car. So and these were 10 a penny. You could get these anywhere. They were in Citroens, Peugeots, they were all over the place. So I bought 2 engines and started to work with one and stripped it down. And it was a 2-litre normally aspirated engine. So, of course, that meant you now need to have new rods, new pistons, new cams. You've got to design manifolds. The whole shebang had to be done. The whole engine was stripped. I mean, good few £1,000s later, the engine was built and sat on the side. It when you open the bonnet, you see the engine that they had in the 206 WRC.
Right.
And so that's how the engine went. Body shell, well, we're starting with a 206, which I bought in from Holland. The reason for that was I actually wanted to buy one from France so that I could have the French reg on the car. Yeah. I had a friend looking for some for me, but we were getting close to Brexit, and I knew there might suddenly start to be import duties and taxes going on anything you imported. So and a friend of mine sort of came up and said, well, I've got one, but it's in Holland. It's on a Dutch reg. And he goes, but that will make it distinct. Why don't you go with that? So I did. We got that car, and so it's on a Netherlands reg, left-hand drive, and started. I took it into an MOT in the UK. Yeah. Got an MOT, so that the chassis number was in the VOSA system, and then took it back to the workshop. Drove it back because it was running. Drove it back, and then stripped the thing down through everything away except the body shell. Yeah. I mean everything. And I'm not kidding. I think we kept the steering rack and the body shell. Yeah. That was it. Everything else went. Every panel, every trim, everything. But that's how you have to start. If you're going to do it properly, you've got to go from ground zero.
Now, I mean, apart from having, shall we say, a slight rush of blood to the head and thinking about a McRae Focus, what is it about the French rally cars that you like?
Nothing in particular. I think what it was certainly with the Renault 5, was that you could because I'd had Gordinis from early on, Renault 5 Gordinis, it was a progression. The Renault 5 seemed like a car that I'd had, and it seemed accessible. At the time in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, you had things like the Renault 5 Turbo, then that went into the GT Turbo. You had the 205 GTI 1.6 and 1.9, all phenomenal cars of their time.
Yeah.
And they were accessible. Now, you did have the Ford Escort, RS Turbos and stuff like that, but the money for an RS Turbo was that much more than if you wanted to have a 205 GTI.
Yeah.
And so these cars, because of their pricing, they were much more accessible, and I was focused in on the Renault 5s. I mean, I actually only got started on the Renault 5 because somebody gave me one for free. A friend of mine gave me a car.
Yeah.
And you know, he was at uni in Brighton with it, and was finished with it. He said, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Okay, I'll have it." and that's where my Renault 5 story starts. But it's not particularly because they're French, but it just has to be something that captures the imagination. I don't know why they ended up being French for me.
Yeah.
And I did, as I say, at one point wanted to do a Ford Focus, and but that didn't come to. You know, I felt that I'd gone to a car show. I think it was the Manchester Classic Show.
Yeah.
And there were two of them in the halls on display. None of them 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
I would have done 4-wheel drive, but it seemed as though they were easy to do. People went and got a Sierra Cosy or an Escort Cosworth, and took the running gear off and put the body shell on and do all of that. And it just all seemed a bit, well, anyone can do that. And with the 206, I knew that most people couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because it required specialist knowledge and an ability and a level of complete nut jobness that you could achieve it. And I just felt, well, I'm stupid enough, I'll have a go.
So basically, when I describe you as the happiest rally driver I know, it's not that you're happy, it's just you're slightly, possibly mentally unbalanced.
Well, it's probably a combination of things, and I think to take something like this on, I mean, I spoke to a friend of mine, Steve Davis, who runs the Rally 22 group, on Sunday. I spoke to him and we were talking about it, because he said, well, you know, will it be ready for not Chateau Impney, for Shelsley Walsh and for Salon Privé? And I said, probably. And he said, you know, in discussing with people what you've done, he said, there's only a few people that could ever have pulled that off. You know that, Neil? And I said, well, I said, I just knew I could do it. I don't know why. I just knew, and I would be doggedly determined to get this thing over the finish line. Yeah. And it's pretty much done. As I say, we're sort of 98% complete now. It's just the engine and the mapping after that, and it's done, and it's a full 4-wheel drive, active diffs, front, centre and rear, hydraulic handbrake, prop shaft disconnect unit, full-size brakes, 2-litre turbocharged, full international spec roll cage, the whole shebang. You've probably seen pictures of it on my Facebook page. Yeah. And it's a full... I mean, I went to Salon Privé at Blenheim Palace late last year, when Rally 22 were hosting an event with them. And they had cars from the Richard Burns collection there. Yeah. And of course he had two. There was a red one and a silver 206, which I think are at BGM at the moment, or wherever they are. And I had a look round them. I mean, I was so far into my build by that time, there was no chance of me sort of implementing much of what they'd done on the original cars. But I looked at the cars carefully and I thought, I've actually done that bit better. Yeah. So I've actually over-engineered that bit there. It looks the same, but I've used a slightly heavier piece of material to do that, and they've gone really light with it. And you know, or maybe the grade of material they used was better. But the cars are the same by appearance. You know, and I've seen them; they are the same.
Now, before we bring this to an end, which we will have to do very soon, is that it, or else is there something else you've got your eye on building?
No, that's it. I don't think I want to build this car, finish it, and I don't want to work on building any other projects or taking any of that on. I just want to spend the time driving the cars, enjoying them, going to and fro from events. If I've got to work, it's going to be maintenance.
Yeah.
But there are no projects. I've got people pressing me to do stuff, and I'm doing an engine build for someone for a Renault 5 Turbo.
Yeah.
A GT Turbo where he's putting a 2-litre engine in. And I'll do that stuff. That's work. That's not about passion. That's just work. So I'll do that. But I'm not planning on any other projects. But I know my son's going to come up and go, Dad, could we do this at some point? He's right into cars as well. And, he's got his Mazda there, and he's got Polos, and he's got his YouTube channel. And, he's going to, I know it's going to happen at some point. He's going to go, Dad, can we build such and such? And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, all right. And then you go again. But yeah, that's it otherwise.
Neil Brighton, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. I know that you and the Renault 5 Maxi Turbo can be seen on various Lombard rally events, and I conclude the Peugeot will follow suit. But Neil Brighton, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. It's always a pleasure chatting to you because you've chatted with me on the microphone live on many a start line. But once again, Neil Brighton, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming on the radio show.
Thank you for letting me on. Not many brave people like that.
Once again, Neil Brighton, thanks very much.
Take care.
Rarely beaten on price, never beaten on service. Whether it's cars, bikes or commercials, Hoddy Tyres are the best in the business. And when it comes to tyre expertise and advice to supplying the correct tyres for your vehicle's specific requirements, nobody comes close to David Lakin and the Hoddy Tyres team. So give them a call on 01200 613 192 or visit the website at hoddytyres.co.uk.